pain don't hurt.
Hello, I am Sarah Black.
And I am Theo Black.
I love bad movies.
I don't.
Join me as I try to convince Theo that there's something interesting
Or something worthwhile.
or something unique in this mess of a movie.
So what's your favorite movie?
Roadhouse.
Per usual, spoilers. We talk about everything in no particular order.
Okay, it's maybe not my favorite movie, but it's up there.
Today's cockatil? Beer.
In a cup. That's what makes it a cocktail?
A pint glass.
A pint glass.
Yeah.
Okay. Roadhouse is a late 80s study in excess in which a man goes to a small town to help clean up a bar and kills a lot of people. You're getting away lucky so far because I could show you some genuinely bad movies.
Fly.
Fuck off. You don't get any of our beer. You're getting away easy so far because I could show you some really bad movies. But I wanted to show you a movie that I love that's a great bad movie, but that's very different from a movie like Alien Prey.
Yeah.
Going into Roadhouse, what did you know and what did you expect?
I knew very little. I don't think I'd even seen the cover. Nothing. I basically knew nothing. I've heard the name of it. You liked the How Did This Get Made about it. That's what I knew. And then going into it and watching it, I just felt the dial turn to 11 the whole way through.
Come on, motherfucker, back! Come on! Motherfucker!
It's fantastic.
And just for my own context, I actually watched this as a fairly young girl. And apparently it was one of those movies they showed a lot on cable television. And I watched a lot of just whatever was on television growing up. I probably watched this around middle school, late middle school. It made an impression. And come to find out, it's now kind of a cult classic. So I had good bad tastes, even as a young woman. I think Roadhouse is a great example of dialing everything to the highest possible notch without losing sight of how to do good character and good plot.
Yeah, it is as over the top as any, I guess, constrained movie can do. We're not on another planet. We're not in fantasy world. You know, there are other ways of going over the top.
The problem with over the top can be when it loses track of reality.
Yeah.
And I tend to stop caring at that point. If we've got a hero that's impervious to harm, who can't possibly grow as a person, a plot that just has gone so off the rails that anything can happen.
Yeah.
I stop caring because nothing matters, because there's no consequences, and so on. And Roadhouse doesn't do that. And let's talk about Roadhouse and how it goes to 11 without just losing its mind. Let's start with the hero.
Patrick Swayze, a.k.a. Dalton.
He is a cooler.
To protect my investment, I've hired the best damn cooler in the business.
Yeah, that thing that exists all over the place that we've heard about and you know about because you've heard about what a cooler is, right? And you've met a guy who's a cooler.
Is a cooler a real thing? I don't go to bars.
I barely go to bars. As far as I know, it's not a real thing. It does not seem like a thing that exists in the world.
I get carded a lot.
Those are bouncers.
Yeah. And usually it's at restaurants. Those are waiters. So we've got what is most likely an imaginary profession, and we've got the person who is just at the top of it.
I need somebody to help me clean the place up. I need the best.
And so we see another character show up to hire him to come and clean up his bar.
I have a little club outside of Kansas City called the Double Deuce.
But he doesn't just show up and ask him, like, at the bar. What's happening as he's asking him?
Dalton is in fact sewing up his own wound from a knife cut on his arm.
Yeah, which is...
Sure, Rambo.
Which I think is important, though, to note. It means Dalton can get hurt. Which is, I think, one of the important things that can get lost when you're creating, like, a larger-than-life character, is if they are impervious to damage, you're not worried about them ever. Like,
yeah.
What does it matter? No one can hurt them.
Like, in a movie franchise like The Fast and the Furious, as a quick excerpt, which might even be movies that are enjoyable on their own separate merit, you don't think anyone's ever going to get hurt in that movie because they crash cars constantly and don't have a single scratch on them.
Or a lot of Transformers does it. A lot of the superhero movies does it. So we've got this interesting scene, which to me does double duty.
Yeah.
Our hero is capable of being hurt.
Yes.
And he's a fucking badass because he then sews up his own wounds.
Yeah.
And then later what happens? He gets hurt again. And the love interest lady
Yes.
staples his wound shut without anesthesia.
I'll give you a local.
No, thank you.
'Cause
Pain don't hurt.
it's so over the top. Because pain fucking hurts. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think to a degree it is showing his bravado. Because he does get hurt later. Like, emotionally as well as physically. But it shows just kind of, it's another over-the-top scene. I remember even watching this as a fairly young girl of like 12 or 13 and thinking, this is nuts.
Pain don't hurt.
But he does it with such low-key style. He's not this big brute, you know.
Yeah.
He's not even, like, cool as in, like, I'm this cool guy. He's just chill.
And he doesn't need to prove anything. The only reason you see him take people down is because they need to prove something. The setup for his character is that he actually doesn't want to fight people. The whole point is just to get them out of the bar.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a cocksucker, I want you to be nice.
He can take you down, but he's not going to lower himself that way.
Yeah, the only time we see him initiate things is way at the end of the movie. And so we've had the whole movie to get that set up, to see his character.
Yeah.
And to see that he really is a cool guy. He has, you know, his philosophy degree, and he's got his own way of looking at things. And
he does Tai Chi topless and unflattering pants that somehow look good on him.
Patrick Swayze just made anything look good, apparently.
Red?
It's the mullet, too, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and he's always sweating, which is like so sexy. It's because it's again that bad movie thing where it's very raw. Like, this isn't pretty. Like, he's not a pretty boy. He sweats and he bleeds, but, you know, he's Superman at the same time.
But as we've talked about him getting hurt, he has flaws, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of what makes the rest of this dialed all the way up thing really mean something, you know. He doesn't just go running to this guy, you know, when he offers the money. It takes a little bit of convincing. He's not just like, oh, sure. You know, he seems thoughtful. There are sides to his personality.
He's very detached.
Yeah.
He just goes from job to job. It's like he's trying to outrun his tragic past.
Do you ever win a fight?
Nobody ever wins a fight.
But also, later on in the movie, he reaches out to Sam Elliott.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Oh, shit, hell, kid, I'm in hog heaven.
There is this vulnerability to him.
He asks for help.
Yeah.
You having trouble? You know, nothing I'm not used to.
Even though he's this guy that sews up his own wounds, that makes you want to watch him and see what happens and what he does.
Listen. You ever heard of a guy named Brad Wesley?
Bring in Ben Gazzara, who I don't know that well.
I don't don't know him that well, but the other thing I've seen him in is a John Cassavetes movie, and John Cassavetes, you don't know him at all. He's for What's Rosebud. He's a famous independent, like early independent movie maker of the 60s and 70s.
Research time.
Let's just say late 60s and 70s. But so Ben Gazzara was in his movies. He was a stage actor. He's not a B-movie actor. And apparently because this movie played so often on cable television, this is his best known role. Even he said he's passed away since then. But it's kind of like Alec Guinness and Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he's done all these other, and everybody knows him.
For Obi-Wan, I mean, hey, I guess it makes sense.
But anyway, so he's this older guy playing evil Richie Rich.
I feel like, continuing with the over-the-top dial it to 11, Ben Gazzara, whose character name I don't know and don't care, is driving down a street, but not on his side of the road, not on the other side of the road. Runs our poor guy Dalton, Patrick Swayze, off the road. That's the level of, like, over the top that you could actually kind of believe in the realm of this movie with its own rules and stuff.
He has a huge mansion that he sometimes goes to by helicopter.
Because what's better than a limousine but a helicopter?
Yes. Where women run around in bikinis and high heels and denim jackets. I'm so tired, ain't got no time to play. He's the richest man. Everything is like the most. So he is definitely the richest man in town. He has the most extravagant vehicle. He is brutal to his subordinates.
You want to know why you disgust me? No, why, boss? Because you're a bleeder.
He extorts money from what seems like a very small town. And I'm not sure how profitable that is, but don't worry.
He's still Richie Rich.
He's the richest possible. He is vile. They do everything to make him vile, but within the world of this movie. Because this movie isn't like a Tarantino movie or a horror film. It's still like an action film. Even
he has his sort of emotional things, though. He's kind of hurt by this woman he's been seeing who's obviously much too young for him, blah, 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 blah. And he's hurt because she's showing interest in Dalton.
Yes.
And he is extorting this tiny town for money. And the people are disobeying him and he gets angry about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't get, like, murderous and he just murders people randomly, because that always bothers me when you're just, like, murder some random character.
Yeah.
No, he does mean things to them and destroys their stuff, but he's not, like murdering people left and right.
Yeah.
So there's, like, a level of, they don't start the bar at murder so that you have to go way past that later.
The movie wants to stay fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to be actually upsetting.
Yeah.
So it's dirty and it's raw and it's sweaty, but it's not murdery or tortury or rapey or any of those things that actually can sour a bad movie experience. You've got your good guy who's at the top of his game. You've got your bad guy who's the baddest he's going to be. And then everything around them is also an 11. Bar fights are not two men slugging it out by the bar. Bar fights involve everyone in the bar.
One of the bar people is actually this rather large guy who's a wrestler named Terry Funk.
You're a dead man.
And it's like, every side character is larger than life, too.
Every table collapses. It's just excess. And the interesting thing with the movie, too, is he's there to clean the bar up. So naturally, eventually, the bar fights stop happening because he's cleaned the bar fight up. But don't worry, that's when the bad guys are going to start fighting him. So it keeps that level of fighting and action going. And what happens, too, is Patrick Swayze's involvement with it changes.
Brad Wesley, he's not afraid of anything, right? Last night, that son of a bitch was afraid.
Yeah.
So, we've got these larger-than-life characters and these larger-than-life situations, but it still kind of has a spine, a story spine that it's bound to.
Yeah.
So he's not really emotionally invested in the bar. He's there to do a job. But as he completes this job, he starts getting kind of on the radar with the bad guy.
He fires the bad guy's nephew or something.
Yes.
He fires another bad guy who seems to be connected to the bad guy, the main bad guy. He starts getting involved romantically with one of the women in town.
Which, this all gives the bad guy motivation, which is important.
Drifter, See you wind up with somebody like that. It's a shame.
And so we do get subplot setups that get paid off. Dalton meets the uncle of his love interest in the auto shop across the street from the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And that pays off later when the auto shop explodes. Twice. Because what's better than one explosion but two?
Well,
right up to 11.
Dalton is prepared for a certain amount of violence. He's deliberately bought a used car that he knows is going to get ruined.
Yeah.
But then really the bad guy is the one that amps it up.
Get those firemen in here. I want to buy them a drink. They risk their lives to save a no-good faggot draft dodger like Red Webster.
You have this bad guy who's somehow rich both by bringing business into the town and extorting the business he brings in.
Yeah.
But it's clear that these are like small town people somehow at the same time. So that doesn't really make sense, but it positions them as the underdog. So then you feel bad for them.
Yeah.
And it makes our bad guy worse. It makes our good guys more pitiable. It makes you want someone to rescue them more. I mean, all the elements are there. They're just a little insane.
At the core of the movie, where everything is dialed to 11, is a pretty basic Western genre style story. Man comes into town, he's a loner, doesn't want to get involved with things too much, no emotional attachment, but throughout the course of the movie, story, he has to confront his past.
What's the matter? Still living in the past, aren't you? A long way from Memphis.
And deal with his demons. And, there's a love interest, there's a villain, the whole shebang.
Mm-hmm. And that gives this story grounding.
Yeah.
Even as our hero is pursued and spied on by men in monster trucks that they later run over someone's auto dealership with.
There are consequences in the movie, though. Both personal and physical. We've talked about him getting stabbed, but there's real emotional consequences to things.
Mm-hmm. It's really when other people start getting hurt, as we mentioned a little bit, that he starts getting drawn in. And when he gets this love interest, and she wants him to stay, but she doesn't want him to fight.
I'm only good at one thing, Doc. I never lose.
What are you gonna win? Who's this for anyway? You doing it for them?
And it all comes to a head, starting with Swayze's landlord, the guy who owns the bar and he's staying in, his place exploding. The guy lives, but Swayze's been having interactions with Ben Gazzara's head henchman, and they've been sort of dancing around each other. We know it's going to come to this moment where they fight each other, and here we are, finally here. And besides being a pretty kick-ass fight scene, the henchman delivers one of Sarah's favorite lines in cinema.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
It's pretty fantastic as far as a line goes. And as previously alluded to, throats get ripped out in this movie, and this is where it happens.
I guess I like movies where throats get ripped out. And there's an implication. Why aren't you taking me seriously?
I wonder why.
There's an implication that this happened before, and it happened over a woman, too, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it is that facing his demons thing, because it seemed to have really fucked up his life. He got involved with the wrong woman, he ripped her throat out. It's repeating itself all over again.
And his love interest is there when it's happening.
And she is like, I don't know if I'm okay with this. I'm gonna run away crying in this direction, or whatever she does.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's the turning point. I mean, it's still classic storytelling here.
Yeah, this is the low point.
The low point. And then he goes, and he wants to get out of there. He wants to take her. She's not into the idea. He wants to go with, he's like, you're right, Sam Elliott, let's get out of town. Unfortunately, Ben Gazzara murders Sam Elliott.
And it's like, this is a real consequence.
Yeah.
People aren't just randomly dying.
No.
We don't have the horror of like a horror movie. We don't have the ridiculousness of an action movie where nothing matters. Death matters in this movie. This is the only actual death that has occurred.
They have these great...
Jane!
They have this bond.
Where in the fuck are we going now? I got somebody I want you to meet. Uh-oh.
And Sam Elliott is dead, and that's about the worst thing the bad guy could do to him. And it's an 11 again in that sense, but it's also traditionally what you would do with the story, is you hit them where they're most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that is when Swayze loses it, and you're happy to see him lose it.
You are. You know, him ripping the man's throat out is amazing.
Yeah.
It's also a low point for him because he doesn't want to do it, because it's basically a mistake. He kind of has to. He's in a weird situation where he feels like he has to.
Yeah.
After Sam Elliott dies, he goes crazy, and he wants to. I think the movie wants him to. The viewer wants him to. I mean, everything's been dialed to 11 anyways. All right, let's go all the way and finish it off strong.
It's funny, though, because there is that conflict where you don't... He doesn't want to be this person, and he's this person again. But then, at the very end, they make it okay for him to be that person.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, what makes it okay is that everybody shoots the bad guy to death.
This is our town, and don't you forget it.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see Patrick Swayze invade the place, push a bear over on someone, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And to get to that final moment is so satisfying.
Because he's not by himself. He's not a loner anymore. Everybody showed up with their shotgun and shot Ben Gazzara. And he fell into a coffee table and the glass broke. Because fuck it, if you're gonna land on something, it's gonna break in this movie.
It's pretty good.
And then he gets to be naked in the lake with his love interest. It's a happy ending.
It's a happy ending.
And I think what we've learned from watching Alien Prey and from watching this is it really helps to have a basic, classic narrative to staple your whacked out story to, because it still gives the audience something to follow even while things are going nuts. Theo Black.
Yes.
You're getting off easy, because next time on this series, Battlefield Movie 2, I'm going to have us watch another bad movie that I think is good. And that is called The King of the Ants.
If you liked what you just saw...
Oh, hey, if you don't, we'll still take it.
Yeah, even if you don't like what you just saw.
Like us.
Please like, subscribe, comment down below, and share us with other people so that other people may find out the wonder that is Pigeon Verite.
But above all else,
keep watching movies.